looking for trading opportunities in the market's best momentum companies, and we look for the common factor that all these market leaders share before they turn into the strongest performers. That's what we call entering the Launchpad. We've got a list of the 30 best momentum companies and the 30 best Launchpad companies this week. Gary Glover has been through both lists, and he's here to explain the charts, the setups, and the similarities that he looks for when he's trading these leaders. Now, we've also got questions that have come from the channel's members. Thank you very much, members, for supporting the channel. We'll cover those today. There are a couple of charts in there and a few themes that came out of today's 30-30 list that has been requested to discuss in a bit more detail. Because this video, we publish after market close on Friday, but the members get the 30-30 list just after lunchtime, normally on Thursdays, at the same time Gary does. Now, Gary, it's an interesting morning to wake up to. We've got the markets moving. We've had the US election, pre-election speech or second debate throughout the week. But when you're looking at the list this week, what's happening on the momentum front on the ASX? What's standing out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot happening here. The big thing happening this week is, I don't know, if, like on Wednesday, we saw a massive jump in a lot of the sort of resource names. And in particular, I think it's sort of some of the lithium, uranium, cobalt, even cobalt names as well. Just a lot of the big cap miners had a big move on Wednesday. So a big jump and big volume there. So I think the volumes were sort of double there. So that was the most noticeable thing that I saw occur this week. And then looking at your the Launchpad there, I can see that we got 17 large cap miners, 16 lithium, 19 battery related stocks, 11 uranium stocks, all in that top 200 of all jumped here, had a big move here. And so it's not quite as obvious in the top 30, but it is, there is some uranium names in that list, but there's quite a few names that are just outside of the 30 in that list there. But for me, the change of character in that resource space and in that, in those sort of names there. So definitely sort of saying, uranium, definitely lit it up. Some big moves in uranium stocks. Saw some big moves in some of the lithium names this week. Some big jumps, big percentage moves, big volumes in that. And then, it's a large cap miners, some cobalt, some other sort of metals in there as well, which will be probably languishing, even iron ore. So just in a bit of a change of character. So that I reckon that's actually great for the market because the banks are, might be way overpriced. They run too hot. They're not going to cool off until someone else does the sort of the lifting here, and the resource sector has really been punished pretty hard here. So I sort of felt the banks aren't going to sort of pull back until resources sort of stand up here. So that's what I thought was happening during the week, and your report, when I looked through it in detail, is actually sort of confirming that as well. So even though there's a few smaller names on the top 30, if anyone does get your report there, they'll see that second tier data in that report that you send out. So looking at the 6 sectors that lit it up in the Launchpad, and look for the members who started with Chris and stuff there. So I know Chris has already sent some questions out, some feedback there. I know Chris was disappointed with one of the responses there, but it is to be expected. I do explain, Chris, we're, as traders there, we are looking for those sort of better setups. That's sort of one thing there. But the thing that's probably getting overlooked in Chris's report is the momentum list. With that list there, you've got multiple names on that list that have been in that list for a long time here. So just think about, okay, what's some of the biggest movers? So I think number 5 on that list, I'm just going to pick 5 of the biggest movers here. EZZ, it's been in this list for a long time. So it's been in there for way past 45 days, but it's been there for a long time here. This has been a long trend here. So we've got to be careful not just to be looking through the Launchpad, trying to find, the 2 great things about Chris's report is one, that we do get a sector lighted up in the weekly Launchpad. We've seen there that, month or 2 months later, that sector seems to have built and gone on with it. If we see a whole sector lighted up there, we've got 3 lighting up today, so that's fantastic. So what we want to see in the next couple of weeks is some of those same sectors have maybe 2 or 3 weeks of back-to-back strength with lots of names. So we want to see lots of lithium names, lots of iron ore names, lots of energy names, or uranium names. Keep hitting the list the next couple of weeks. That'll give us confirmation that those sectors can have a bit of a run here and not just have a little bit of a bounce, So that's what we want to see next couple of weeks. That's basically the strength of sort of what the report is. It's sort of, if we see, a couple of sectors lighted up, we see multiple names that list, then usually we see follow through later on. So that's the one component of the list that we want to trade in. The forgotten component, I think, Chris, is that these strongest names, and we say this I say this every week, is that the strongest names, they continue to remain stronger and they go longer and further than anyone thinks. So if you look at the 5, if I'm just thinking about the 5 strongest names I can think of, I wasn't even looking at the list, I was just thinking in my head, what are the 5 strongest names that have been popping in the list forever? The 5 that I sort of written down were EZZ, which happened to be number 5. Now, this stock's been running for ages. So it hasn't broken the 50-day moving average the whole way through here. And it's had a few consolidations and tightened up and given us a few D-wave breaks, given us a few VCPs, given us a few carbon handles. So once they hit the weekly list, we should be keeping an eye on those. And then once they're on the quarterly list, we can't just dismiss them as, it's already too late. They've already had that 50% rally, 60% rally. But that's, if anyone has watched any of Kalamagi's videos, he's only looking for the strongest stocks that have had those 50, 60, 80, 100%, 100% moves. If it's only at a 20, 30% rally, he is not interested in even looking at it. If any of these viewers actually ask him for a stock that's only maybe 20, 30%, he'll just tell them, it's off. You're not welcome here. You're looking at the wrong stocks. He'll do it in a nice way, but that's what he's saying. It's really looking for those strongest names there. So we look at EZZ here, even just in the last couple of weeks there, Chris, it did set up another little VCP in here, a little tight consolidation there. And it's popped out of there. I mean, that's a move from probably 295 here up to, 340 here. So I can still keep going. These strongest names that don't stop looking at momentum layers, because they will set up again here. We're seeing some of those things like WA1, they just ran around. Spartans just ran, consolidated and ran. And just Findy ran, consolidated. They keep setting up here. So don't dismiss the quality momentum list, because there's some great names on there. So that EZZ, it just kept setting up over and over again. And if you just looked at it only once early on there, put it aside there, you would have missed out on lots of opportunities. Nuix is the other name. It's been on the list for ages, maybe all a year or so. Maybe, it's been a perennial strong performance. It just keeps having consolidations there. I mean, it set up a cup and handle in here, tightened up and broke through. Set up another consolidation, nice and tight, VCP, and broke through. Came back, maybe did maybe just break below here, but then it consolidated just under the high again, and then it broke through again, and then it's just taken off. It's just done another tight VCP in the last week here and taken off again. So these strongest names, they just keep setting up over and over and over again. So don't forget about this list there. Like Chris is worried that we're forgetting about the strongest names there, because there's a reason these strongest names, they just keep powering on, keep going all the time here. So we've got to keep an eye on the strongest stocks there, because they keep setting up. They keep consolidating. Man, that's a beautiful tight pattern. Look how tight that is, Chris. So
after that run, having that contraction, if we had an ATR on there, that'd just be falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
But,
so that's number 2 on the list there. I mean, Catapult has been on this list. Well, that's just bottom left, top right. Just been climbing. It's just been hugging the 50 every single time here. Consolidated, popped out. Like, just using a basic trend line. and buying the break. You could just keep buying this over and over again. There's a VCP in here, look up and handle in there, another little tight consolidation here, another VCP, B-wave break. It just sets up over and over again here. So been on the list for a long, long time, giving you multiple opportunities there. So don't just be trying to kick the trade down here at the start. These ones here, I mean, that's a trade, it's a setup here, it's a setup. There's just setup after setup after setup. So maybe they get a bit smaller here, but I mean, geez, look at this. Even if you sort of bought this trend line broken here, maybe bought the, 210 here, it's already 240, so 30 cents on 210, it's already up 15% in 5 days? I mean, I don't know, are we searching too hard? Are we making it too hard for ourselves? It's like that. There's quality mentalist there. Don't dismiss that. CU6 is another name that's been on the list. Look how strong this stock is. It's been on the list whole year. So it has just been powering. It's gone from strength to strength there. It's had a few pauses there. Look at that tight full pause in there, like so strong here. It looks like it might be rolling off there, but then it recovers there. All that just shows its hand there. Big buy on that day. And this stock has been so strong. It stayed so tight, and then bang, away it goes again. Sets up another little VCP in here, little tightening pattern under the high. Power goes straight through again. So just keeps continuing to sort of set up here. So you wait for a little pullback, retrace, Again, it's sort of hugging the 50. A few little minor breaks there. That's the thing about, if you look at those model books there, you'll see most will hug the 50. A few of them, they might just flirt with it, Chris. They might just break it momentarily and sort of come back in there. But watching this 50 here, I mean, even Kalamagi will just keep, he will add to the strongest names there, just to come back to the 50s, add to it there. And look, if it breaks below, he'll get stopped out a lot because he doesn't has a low risk sort of threshold, but he's continually adding to these strongest names there. So they just keep setting up there. So that's the other one that's on there. I think might have been as an SNL is the other one that's, again, it's been so strong. There's been on the list for a long, long time. You probably, but I mean, just some of these consolidations there tightened up in here, a little bit of a VCP in there. Another little tight consolidation on top here. Again, another little VCP in here as well, a little small one there. I mean, you're talking about, again, sort of breaking out above, say, 29 here. It's already gone to, $31 there. So $2 on 29. So maybe it's only 8% or something there, but there's some good moves in here, big percentage, but the stock is they just keep showing strength there. So just don't forget the quarterly report list there. So don't just be taking trades off the sort of weekly there. So there's plenty of sort of strong names in this list. And they stay in there a long time, a lot longer than you think as well. So that's probably the feedback that I'd probably just suggest to everyone to have a look at that list there. I mean, if you look at number one on the list, Chris, LO, look how strong that stock has been. That's what we want to see. We want to see really strong momentum, really strong volume, and then we want to see tightening up price action. So that's what we're looking for. So now we just got to wait for this little pauses consolidation there, and sometimes they can take a bit of time. Sometimes they can be 1 month, they can be 2, 5 months. But we're going to watch it. So this stock definitely goes on the list there because it's had a really strong move, big volume. I'm excited that it's over 30 cents. So that means I can potentially trade it. So definitely on my watch list there to sort of watch there. And you can see here, just have a look within the, so strong all out here. 2 down days of that, no volume. We bounce back again, 3 days volume. We have 3 down days, 1, 2, 3, no selling. 2 days up, bit of buying. The 3 down days are like 1, 2, 3, no selling. No one's selling the stock on the down days. So if you want to go back and study SPR, look at that stock from the go and get a 2-year chart. So basically, drop in the chart last year and drop in the chart the year before. Watch that stock rally up. You watch every consolidation it has. Big volume on the way up, no volume on the consolidation. Big volume on the way, so just no selling goes on there. So LRB is looking really interesting here because I haven't seen any selling here yet. So you'll see that one day, which we see all the time, see one day of selling, so it gets a bit hot, then someone comes in and finally sells some of the heat. Okay, but after that, no selling in there, no selling all these days down here, no selling in the last 2 days down here as well. So no one's to sell the stock here. So
from that consolidation, sort of late July, early August, we're sitting around 12 cents. It's been massive tightness in the coils, and then it starts to break out 12, 13, 14 cents.
Yep.
If we use that as kind of the base 12, and then we're up to north of 40 cents now. So definitely meeting the criteria of more than 100% rally. So we know that it's in the realms of a high and tight flag. It's a possible candidate. And we're talking about that sort of mid-August where you're showing that massive breakout, gapping up days, huge volume. For the high and tight flag, we know from a Thomas Bulkowski perspective that he wants it to be sort of, you've said the top half of that sort of range, and then ideally the top third. And then what sort of setup, now that this one is showing that it is maintaining the top third, I mean, it hasn't really pulled back south of 30 cents, more like 33. What is it that you want to see in this compression? Do you want to see sort of the range bar, the price bars tighten up because the volume seems to be acting right? What else do you want to see it do before it maybe gets a position in your portfolio?
Yeah, so sometimes just needs time, Chris. That's the need to sort of so everyone's going to probably try and rush in here and try and buy this too early here. Might use up a lot more time there. You got to remember there, LTP, which has been on the list there, had that pretty strong run there. That used up quite a bit, used up a couple of months there, going sort of sideways there. So could use up a bit more time there. I think FND there, again, that had a pretty tight move. It looked pretty tight here, but look how long it lasted. So they can
be months.
Yeah, it can be a while here. So, and to be honest, the longer it, the longer it goes as well, the bigger the base, the bigger the move. So we don't want to. We actually want to see these things, not come out of these things too early. If they come out too early, we probably don't get the big move. Whereas if they use a lot of time here, that LTP, look, that's used up so much time here. Bang, so. We want to see they'll have a pause there, long pause there. So, so I mean that looks really interesting at LOV. So, we just want to see consolidate here. Look, maybe I'll be shorter there. That's why you're going to go and sort of study these patterns there. So if you have your 100 club or your VCPs or high tight flags, just go and study them. So build up a little library of them, 10, 20, 30, 40 stocks. Just every time I see one, just, it's a really old school one, to print them out. If you want to sort of, keep them in the library or something, just take a, use a snipping tool and put them in the library somewhere. Just build your library up of these setups there because they can sort of see how they sort of come out there. So this one here is definitely on my watch list. So I'm watching this one probably the most careful of anyone there. Number 2 here, AIM, that's had a terrific run too, Chris. It's in that AI space as well. So a lot of people are talking about the stock here, which is obviously interesting, but it's had a cracking move here. So it's now sort of doubled in value. So, it did have a little VCP sort of cup and handle there, but it was a little bit thin, bit ragged at the time. But now it's exploded, gone out of that. So now it's had a big move, a big volume. We now sort of just want to sort of see this one. Again, it might consolidate here for 3 or 4 months. This is the name of the game here. It's really patience. The beauty, you don't have to trade. So we just have to wait. We as these mentioned traders here, we do need to be a little bit. If anyone's watched the movie American Sniper, you have to sit and wait for the right shot. So you could be sitting there for days and weeks, and in our case as traders, we could be waiting months for the right shot here. But these are the stronger stocks here. This is what we wait for these strong names. So they show their hand, and then we wait for a safe entry. That's the name of the game here. So this, and number 2, this had a terrific run. That's really, really healthy volume there. It's now sort of starting to get a bit of liquidity, reasonable sort of price as well. So, but that's going to have a consolidation at some point here. So did have a little tightening up in this little section there, Chris. So it did tighten up in here. Someone, you're looking at this little consolidation there, you could have maybe traded that break there just because it sort of showed real strength there. like, I don't really like going into shorter time frames there, but the half hourly, all that, showed a nice BCP in there. So I had the strong run, pull back here, strong run, tighten it up here, went again. So it's a perfect, Minavini tightening up BCP and then come out of here, bang. So, but again, I wouldn't go any deeper use my dailies and weeklies. I wouldn't go any deeper than a half hourly, any smaller than that to use my entry. I left momentum sort of stocks there, but they do give you good setups there. So those are the two big ones there. I've covered some of the bigger names now. I think SLI, we sort of covered that. I think it was, sort of supply networks there. So, there's another name, Chris. It's, again, look how strong this stock is. Think about the stock here. On the last run here, it didn't break the 20. It actually hugged the 10 a lot of the time, but it didn't break the 20 on the way up here. So now it's come out of this range here, got going here. So far, it's actually hugged the 10. Hasn't even sort of got back to the 20 here. So it's still in a strong position here. We know when it ran last time, the size of the move here. So that's the thing that I'm sort of starting to lean on and look a bit harder at is the size of these moves, like as a percentage-wise, because then that gives you an indication as to what's possible. Get in your head, sometimes you go, I'm going to 23% move here, but mate, if the stock's just coming off the back of a 300% rally and you only bed down 20 or 30% of that move,
sell yourself short on the opportunity.
Yeah. So say this stock, if this stock's already around 300%, it has an average rally, maybe it only rallies 150, 180% on the next leg up. But that's the sort of scope that you're working with. And that's why you sort of, what the pros are doing here is they're buying the breakout here. So whether they buy this B-wave break here, whether they buy the next break here, or this tight consolidation here and maybe top up here. But what they're doing is if all of a sudden this thing pops here, they probably sell some into heat, might sell a quarter or half into that pop. Obviously, gone to a new high as well. And then they're going to basically backstop the rest with either using the 10 or the 20-day moving. Okay? So if they backstop the rest there using the 20-day moving average, they've now got their stop at 175 after getting maybe multiple entries down here. And we're talking about, even if you're late here, 130, you've now backstopped it at 175. 45 cents on 130. It's not about, you're already up 30-40% there with a backstop. You've already sold half, banked half, and you got the other sort of fighting a 30% gain here. So this is what momentum traders, this is what the best traders are doing here. So there's certain techniques that they're just going, they use over and over again. Not all the best traders are doing it. Well, that tells you sort of something there. It's, there's probably a reason why the best traders are doing this sort of, this sort of style here. So, but yeah, that was another strong name in the quarterly there. I think OCC had a bit of a jump there. Probably has sort of finally come out of this big range there. So it's probably that's probably a bit of a watch here now. WTM. This one's interesting there, Chris, because it has sort of had a few good runs there, some good volume come in. And the whole thing has tightened up here. So it does look a little bit like an overlapping sort of top here, but now again we're sort of not seeing, if you look sort of, if you use a little bit of Wyckoff theory, and Wyckoff sort of talks about looking at studying the bars. So you can see how, the stocks run up into strength there, seeing what happens here. So we move off here, pretty low volume, and then we rally again, volume comes in, pulls back again, there's no real volume there, has a bit of a rally, volume comes in again, and then it drifts off again. Still no volume coming in here. So there's still no selling coming in here. So although this looks like it's extended here and going sort of sideways there, it still is not showing any sort of any selling there so far. So again, this has been pretty robust volumes here. Pretty robust volumes here again. Volumes coming in here. So this stock's still in a strong position there. Still not showing too much weakness here. So not showing anything sort of too negative about that. SM1 was on the list there. Just a little BCP, and here, Chris, there's a few corporate actions going on there. So I was trying to make sense of what's happening now. It's a little too complicated for me. So if I don't understand it, I usually stay out of it. But I did think the chart looks pretty interesting there. Had good volume break there. Nice little VC tightening up there. There is a bit happening in that space in terms of people buying a few assets and things like that. So maybe there's something going on. If someone else can make sense of it, there might be opportunities there. Covered CU6. CXL's on the list, which is number 27 there. Just thought this is interesting there because this is sort of one of those sort of green stocks there, sort of trying to help out the environment sort of stuff there, which everyone was pretty keen on there. But stocks really had pretty dismal performance there after being hot. It's come all the way off here, but so it's got a lot of sellers in the way here. But there is a bit of a change in character here. Starting to see a bit of volume finally come in. Starting to see break of a few swing highs in there. So we've got a potential character change in the stock there. So it's probably one just to keep an eye on there, just because we do see a bit of a change happening there. Now I think I've covered them all there. I sort of go a little bit out of order there, but just wanted to highlight the sort of strongest names on that list, how they've continued to remain strong and keep setting up over and over again, So there's still a few, still don't dismiss the quarterly list there, because I think there's, it will keep giving you setups there. And we've seen with those model stocks there, we've covered the Magnificent Eight, and then we cover it. I'm doing the model, Chris, which will look at the top 15 stocks for the last 2 years. But there's definitely a pattern there. Those names do keep setting up there. They do have a strong run, they'll have a consolidation there. And you'll see that like a lot of them will sort of drift back to the 50. They might even just sort of, flirt with the 50 a little bit, and then they recover again. But if you just wait for those stocks to recover, the strongest names to recover back above the 50, wait for a little bit of either a VCP or a cup and handles, or wait for a little VWAP break there, they potentially set up again and again and again. So keep those on your list. I'd say don't dismiss the left-hand side of Chris's report. I know we're trying to look bottom, top right, but at Chris's report, we should be looking on the left-hand side of his report, because there's some strong names and some sort of strong setups in there.
Yes, no, definitely. With the two working constant, and we're going through the calculations to be able to share that as to sort of how that speed varies in time. But before we progress from the quarterly momentum, we just got one of the members, Toddy's, asked some of the ones you've already covered in some of the requests, but two extra ones were APX, which ranked number 3. You might have already covered that right at the start, I think, and OPT. So they were two that on the list. How do you see? So that's APX. I'd love to say that was a cup and handle, but it seems it's just too severe at the handle. It's sort of whipsawed a bit too much, and kind of you want loose for losers type David Ryan kind of set up, do you?
Yeah, look, I think there was a nice little setup in here. Explosive, you had the game changer use there. So that was sort of, although we've lost the Google contract, we're now doing. We've picked up business in China there, and that's been a big win for them. So that sort of fueled the rally there. Did have a bit of a move and then a consolidation, and it did tighten up here, sort of under the high. So we had that little consolidation then break there. So that might have been a little trigger in there. It may be a game changer day, the trigger day there, but then the thing's just gone straight up and then come straight back again. It's like under trade these V-shaped moves. I prefer to sort of see a little, some sort of congestion there, some sort of V-wave break. We didn't really get it there. Hopefully it doesn't go too far there, Chris. Hopefully maybe we'll get a consolidation of sorts there. But it does look like this sort of stock, that's big volume in there. So that's sort of like accumulation sort of style. So that's like people are starting to look at this seriously again. So that means it's got potential legs here, sort of long term. So we want to sort of see a few consolidations there. We can here. So we just watch this one here. It's on our list. But yeah, some great signs in here. That's game change. I mean, that's a game changing move for mind. This is game changing volume. I tell you that institutions, that's the sort of bonus. That's not retail money just jumping in here. That's some serious money coming through there. So that's the biggest volume in this stock here for quite some time here. So we definitely got to keep an eye on that stock as well. So
And then OPT was the next one.
yeah, the OPT, that's been
18.
Yeah, we did talk about this about 3-4 weeks ago, Chris, because I think what was probably coming off this here, because of this volume, was like, I remember saying it, like, this wasn't the strongest rally here, coming off a bit of a deep low, but this was really catching the eye when I see bigger volume bars coming there. So I know there might be some sort of capital raising and stuff there, all of a sudden, more liquidity there. But when you start to see this rally here and getting above the 50, and then some bigger volume bars in there, you saw, look at that. That cooled off there, look at that. Here's no selling. So that's what you want to see. This stocks, run on big volume, and then you want to see the whole thing tighten up here on no volume. So, that's why, I mean, you can look at all these indicators, RSIs and all that sort of stuff here, but you just use price and volume, it'll tell you 90% of what you. So you see a moving average or something there on top of that, just to sort of see where you're at. But I mean, really, these sort of this price and volume then will give you sort of 90% of what's going on there. But that still looks okay there. It's just getting a little bit overlapping here at the moment. But there's been good volume here, so now you're probably, you'd like to see some sort of tightening up here or something after a bit of a, it has been pretty strong here, but now starting to overlap, so it's starting to sort of slow down. So this might have been a pause there, but we keep an eye on it. There's some pretty healthy volume in there, so it's telling us that things have changed. They've a change of character.
So that's the momentum. We've been through those. You talked earlier about materials, and you said, we can put a link in the notes below. It was just in the last week or so, you were saying, well, is it time for commodities to turn the corner? Might be too early to tell right now, but it's definitely had a substantial rally within the last week.
Yep.
When we look at the Launchpad, as you were saying right at the start, it's the themes you're pulling out of this week. You're seeing battery minerals. You're seeing a whole host of different materials, metals, sort of showing up in the Launchpad. And yes, Gary does sort of get a breakdown of the top 200 Launchpad companies on the ASX to help him give more context of what's happening just beyond the top 30. But he's pulling out those themes, and we shared that short list of ranked themes with members this week. What we saw on the Launchpad is that sort of movement, we're seeing a whole number of constituents. If we see north of 12 constituents within that top 200 list, it's pretty healthy. But the numbers Gary was talking about was 12s, 15s, 17s, even up to 20. That tells us can be a bit of a change. So one of the questions we received was, okay, is it too early? Is it sort of bottom territory for materials? And just to sort of paraphrase you from earlier, Gary, the V-shaped recoveries, you're saying just from an individual stock, can be hard to trade. And that can be hard with the market and themes and whole sectors as well. Would you like to be seeing this Launchpad that we're about to discuss? You'd want to see for the next week or two it to be still filled up with more fresh names in those same thematics coming up through the ranks of Launchpad and showing good health and breadth within that group to give you confidence and comfort that may be turning, and that transition and changing of the guard could happen for the ASX as a whole.
I think we're going to see some more follow through in some of those names. I mean, I guess we were discussing earlier, I reckon your viewers would probably want to know as well, is that like there's been some big moves and some sort of stocks there. They probably think, oh, this stock's had a big jump. Because I was saying that Mineral Resources had a big jump. I think Deep Yellow has had a big jump off the low as well. So, people go, well, why isn't that in the top 30? Why isn't this stock in top 30? And then even though they've had big jumps there, it's because like Mineral Resources there, Chris was explaining to me, this stock has been annihilated. So it's had such a strong momentum downward there. So the weekly Launchpad looks at what's happened this week, but it values what's happened coming into this. So stocks that have been on a really downward, aggressive sell-off are not showing relative strength, they're showing relative weakness. So that part gets discounted there. Whereas a stock that maybe has held up pretty well and has been building and has that jump is in a strong position because what's happened in the last week, as long as what's happened in the recent weeks, has a weighting on the score. So it does sort of highlight which stocks are the strongest, not which stocks have bounced back the most from these deep lows. You know what I mean? So it'll show the strength. I know that that sort of TOE, that's probably, out of the Uranium names, it's probably had the same sort of bounce as the other names, but maybe it hasn't sold off as aggressively as the other names as well. So that's sort of giving it some sort of weighting as well. And then what we'll see is hopefully, as these stocks build here the next couple of weeks, we might see that, because it looks at, how far back does the weekly go back? It looks at this week, and then it has a weighting on the past.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a much stronger weighting in the weekly. So the quarterly momentum has a stronger weighting within the last week. And then it looks back over the quarter as well for calculations. But the Launchpad sort of skews those calculations and pushes it so it's even more weighted towards the most recent week. But just as you're describing, we've also created the calculation mathematics behind it so that we can't, you and I don't do so well with V-bottom trades. It's not our skill set. And so that it's designed to sort of filter those out and give more credit to those that have had a stated baselining, like what you've been saying.
Yeah.
The bigger the base, the better. It's more,
so
Launchpad's more heavily towards the recent week.
But which is what all the science, all the maths, and all the data tells us, that the stocks that do hold up the best have the shallowest retracements and show relative strength versus the market. They're the names that come out of the heart. So we're not just, Chris is not just created to tell him what he wants. He's built it telling us what history has told us works the best, and what best traders look for, and what has worked the strongest, I guess, historically. So it just, I think it's a good point there. Sort of, even, I do each week. I do ask Chris, why isn't this stock in there? Where is it ranked? So it's only ranked 135 because it's still coming. It's gotten beaten up the last few weeks, and it'll, if it keeps building, then it'll start to improve there as well, because that's some of the weighting is there. Whereas a stock that's basically maybe gone sideways and then pops out of a range and it's showed, relative strength versus the rest of the market, it's showing you that it just hasn't sold off, which we know that, all the biggest move in history, all the strongest stocks, when the market finds a low, they usually go to new highs within 2 weeks of the market low. That tells you they are showing, they're showing relative strength. They don't get sold off much. And then when the market bounces, they're already in a strong position. They've already basically showed strength earlier, and then they're going through short-term highs as well. So that's what most people are afraid to buy those. They go looking for the V-shape, ugly-looking stocks there. That's why they underperform. Whereas the best traders, they look at the strongest names and they go with the momentum, and they're looking for that sort of stock there. Like NVIDIA, just go back and look at NVIDIA. Studying NVIDIA for the last 2 or 3 years, that's done exactly everything like that. It's just showed relative strength every single low. If you look at the market lows, what that stock was doing, it was already rallying. It was already showing strength. It was consolidating under the highs there. Every time you look at the market lows, within 2 weeks, it's already at a new high. But most people are reluctant to buy new highs. And that stock has just gone all of it. So, good lesson there. Let's, so CXL, I've sort of covered this one here. Possible change of character. CHN, just a smaller name there, tail sliding there. Again, got a lot of losers there, this one, but do have some pretty heavy volume coming in there, Chris. So, has broken above a swing high now. I think it's actually might have broken 2 here. So, again, possible change of character for these names there. Like a lot of although the large caps aren't in here, the large caps were in the 200, and we had lots of coming in there more simultaneously there as well. So got a large number of those names there. We've got a couple of, I think, TOE, the Uranium stocks there, and AGE were in the list. And it was quite...
Lotus, LOT as well, and then you were asking about Deep Yellow, which just missed the cutoff at 35th.
Yeah. So Deep Yellow, actually, I was watching this, Chris, because what it did was it did a false breakdown here. And I was looking at, because at the time I was looking at like Bannerman, which we covered in the model book there, because it had a cracking run. It's gone from $4.80 down to under $2 there. it's lost like 60% of its value there. So it's done the whole Minervini, more than 50% correction there. So this has had a really, really deep correction there. I think Paladin has done the same there. Had a really, really deep correction as well. BOE, Boss Energy, again, really, really deep correction here. We're like $6 plus here down to 240. So these have all corrected more than 50, 60% here. These uranium names. That's why you got to be careful about getting caught up in the, staying in these things too long here. Once they're done, we know they're going to have big corrections, these momentum stocks. So we talk about sort of staying with them. They last longer than everyone thinks. They always overshoot, but once they're finished, there's a fairly nasty decline coming. So that's why we get stops. That's why sort of risk management. That's why you got to have a stop in place here. I think for these sort of stocks, where people, unfortunately, investors will end up getting drawn into these sort of names at the wrong times after they've run here, and they don't use stops, and then they think the cycle is just going to keep going on forever, and then they cool off there. So. But it's interesting there that sector has sort of lit up there. So we want to probably watch and see what happens here. And just think about, going to digress here, but on your list there, which I didn't cover today, Charter Hall was on the list, Chris. So in the momentum. So this is a good lesson here as to what happens on a product. So we talked about property trust there. It was this week. So it would have been on the 12th of July. We would have covered this here because that all of a sudden we had Dexus, Charter Hall, we had all these property trusts jumping out of the gates there on a bit of volume there, big moves that week there. And it was like the sector was just lit up. And it was like, oh, property trust, what property trust? So,
They're boring.
Yeah. Why do you want to go buy property here? So everyone's reluctant to risk it. But what they do is they end up, you're seeing this move in resources here. So, yeah, they've jumped up here, but even if you miss the start here, what happens is they'll tighten up here, they'll consolidate there, and then bang here. Maybe you get a little B-wave break in here or something, So don't feel like I got to rush in here and just buy anything that's sort of jumped up here. If you do, you want to have some rules around your trading and stuff there, but they just showed there that sector definitely jumped out of the gates. So even Dexus there, because we sort of jumped out of the gates early, had it downgraded here, it's still gone to a new high. So you would have think, even after this not having a pretty average result there, it's actually recovered and gone straight back to a high there. So it just shows that sector was pretty, I did trade Charter Hall in GOZ, and that's been nice. So we would have thought here, just these little tightened up in here, little VCP, bang here, it's gone on with that. But we got that signal there a while back there, when all the sort of names all sort of came out here. So, but can't just go and buy anything on the Launchpad there. You got to wait for follow you got to have your rules, your edge, your system there, and then trade around that. But it does give an indication there that the stocks have hit that Launchpad here this week here. So you got plenty of uranium names have all lit it up there. So now you got to watch. Don't just go and buy uranium. Watch that sector there. We want to sort of see it pull back in here, maybe tighten up. Maybe we get a VCP, maybe we get a handle, maybe we get a big break. We'll make the sort of a proper setup there before you look at those names there, because we might fade and maybe none of them come back in the list in the next week or two. But we want to see some more names, some more strength in that. The lithium,
definitely the case.
Yeah. So lithium stocks there. So on the list as well here, we've got CXO. We got SYA. I think there's a few.
Lake Resources was in the Launchpad, which
So
when you were talking about mineral,
few names there. Yeah, so there's a few little big jump here. So big volume on mineral resources, big volume on PLS, all that. So that's the sort of move that potentially can start. So it's not saying that it's definitely started. So don't want to lead people astray here. Not giving any advice, around here, but if we look at history, when we see these stocks light up sector, have a big move and have the big volume, that is normally a pretty good sign that we might sort of see something building here. So now we're going to wait for the price action to consolidate, give us a low risk entry here. So like it's sort of Charter Halls there, we don't just buy the thing because it's jumped up here. we wait for it to consolidate, give us a good technical setup here. So see how this consolidate tightened up in here. See how GAZ, basically the whole thing tightened up in here after jumping out. So we waited. I mean, this had a big jump here. We had to wait a few weeks here for our setup here. Don't just go and buy these things willy-nilly into a move here. Have your trading process, have your setups and stuff there. But so there's some just interesting things really occurring here this week on that sort of Launchpad there. Even like SF Sandfire, which is in that sort of copper space there, Chris, as well. A few of the copper names have had a good jump here. And that's sort of like, that's a downtrend still hasn't really, it break a little high here, but went back down here. So that's shown a bit of strength there as well. But you want to see this core up here, tighten up here. Maybe we get a BCP or something, but we just get these are all, you can see lots of sort of potential setups, but not setups, if that makes sense. You just got to wait patiently and sort of see if they set up here. OCC was sort of something non-mining. So there was a couple of non-mining stocks in for the Launchpad, not many, but there was a couple in there. Canton I thought was interesting, just because this was sort of like, even as a bit of a downtrend there, we are seeing a bit of volatility in there. Maybe the whole thing's tightening up in there. Possible little VCP in there, but still a bit messy. Not the ideal sort of setup there. TLX there, I think there was an undercut of the low there, Chris. Again, one of those sort of leading names. This is the sort of, see we undercut the low there, little false break, and then let's say 1, 2, I think 3 days or something there after a little false break there. Break. I think buying the range after that break there is normally a good setup there. Has had a regional sort of follow through here. What else is in there? AVH. I've been watching this one there just because there's a bit of a VCP in there, Chris. That's sort of had a pullback in there, and another pullback here, another pullback there. Each pullback's getting tighter and tighter. There's a bit of volume coming off the lows there, bit of volume here, bit of volume in there. Pretty light volume through here, but she's pretty gappy. Bit hard to trade this one here, so I'm hoping maybe this thing might tighten up a little bit there. But yeah, it's not the easiest one to trade there. It's definitely probably got the better of me, this stock, a few times that I've traded it, just because it's a little loose. Prefer to sort of see it, tighten up here. So, but it does have a BCP on there at the moment there. Net wealth still on the listing. Such a strong stock here, Chris. Like getting another VCP pairing here, really. So it's had after having a great run, it's had a bit of a cool off there, but now whole thing's tightening up here. So again, another leading name, not showing too much weakness, tightening up again. Yeah, it's kind of it's a bit of a theme, isn't it? Really, for the last year or so here. Just these stronger names just continue to stay pretty firm here. So that's what I sort of saw there. I saw I was watching Vulcan VUL, just because that's had another VC after having this VCP in here, another big VCP in there. I thought this looked pretty good. If I look at the weekly, I thought this looked really interesting there. There's a whole whole thing sort of sat on there. It's been some good volume there, but it did report today. And look, they're leaking some money. I think they went through a lot of cash last quarter, or last half there. So yeah, some market wasn't excited by the
burn.
By the burn. So, but still want to watch again. Maybe the thing tightens up again. But yeah, interesting sort of stock here. That's why sometimes, you got to look at the setup there, but also, you got to look at what they use, what comes out as well. I just, I did think this looked really good a couple of days ago. But yeah, you just got to be careful coming in reporting season. You can get negative reports there. So this one's probably not the best report here. So it'll be interesting to sort of see how it takes it next few days, but probably just one to keep an eye on anyway. But yeah, there's lots happening there. Did have a quote of the day, which I thought was an interesting one. Henry Coffin said, there are two kinds of people who lose a lot of money. the ones who know nothing and the ones who know everything. I hope never to be either. I think it's a cracking quote, actually. So, yeah. Sometimes we think we already know the answers. We don't trade stuff because our biases get away. And we know that happens. I mean, that happens to me quite a bit. So I'm just trying to let the charts tell me what's going on. But we don't can't sort of know it all. We can't think, oh, this stock's definitely going to make money. There's no way this stock's not going to go up. I'm not even going to put my stop in this time. We don't do that. No. So, prepare, it's just sort of you manage your risk, prepare for the worst, and hopefully the best comes there. If you can handle all the worst case scenarios there, you've got all the risks all locked up, then that's sort of the key there. But for a long-term trading there, it's what did Larry Height say? You sort of if you lose your money, you can't trade. So you've sort of got to you've got to have your risk management in place. You need to use stops there, because if you don't have stops in place and then you lose your money, then you're out of the game. So
yeah,
if you do, sometimes people get annoyed about getting stopped out there, but if you retain 99% of your capital, or 99% or 98.5%, you're in there, tomorrow again,
fight another day.
Yeah. Whereas if we let things go through our stops and we get too big and don't have stops in place there, we dust our capital, then then you sort of not only got to get a higher percentage return to win back that as well. So there's a reason why that there's certain mass that all the professional traders use. It's usually around that 1% capital, because they know if they sort of get 8 to 10 in a row wrong, they can still come back from that. Whereas if they're using say 2 or 3% stops and they lose 20-30% of the capital, they know it's gonna be a harder road back to win it back here. So do all your reading, follow. As a lot of the pros have already laid out, the rules of the sequence and the mathematics and the formula there. It's just whether we want to follow that smart path. And I encourage you to keep reading there and keep improving. But apply some of that sort of common sense there and play the long game.
Well, that 8% that you're talking about, I've read it separately in 2 books. Vinny talked about it, and he laid out the arithmetic for why losing 8%, whereas you're saying 1% on 8 consecutive trades. Once you get past that, climbing the mountain back up is just significantly steeper. I think Van Tharp did it in his books as well. So it's not the first Van Tharp was written in his books a very long time ago. But as you're saying, learning from the best traders, learning from history, and learning from the past market leaders. We're doing that in the model book that we're putting together. We've recorded one already, just finding the time of the day to actually record it. So we'll put that together for everyone so they can view those videos, see those leading trades. And then also there's been a bit of demand for trade setups, which Gary was talking about at the start. Definitely important, but also we'll do more on the themes and hopefully explain why the themes mean so much. And I think today's been a good example of Gary's talking about uranium, lithium, and property trusts when they come into the Launchpad, how to assess their movement in the Launchpad over not just 1 week, but the consecutive weeks, and then how that can lead to some of those monster stops and their best opportunities. So to that point, I know Gary's got a busy day. We've got some more market leaders to cover at the model book. So I'll say thank you very much, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.